Yo, football fans, Big D is live this Monday evening as we start our NFL playoffs on the Driving to the Top Productions and the Spunky Spectrum Sports huge page with yours truly. Before I bring in Charles, please subscribe, like, and share Driving to the Top Production and the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Also, you can check me out somewhere. I might be hosting a stream podcast. I might be running 5K. So joining me to talk Ravens before Saturday night's AFC Wildcard Showdown with the Steelers of RavoriSports. So Charles, Steelers Ravens this weekend. What else is new?
Well, yeah, we were just talking about it off camera there, the best rivalry in the NFL. So the Ravens and the Steelers. So these games are always very close games and decided by a lot of points. They're 1-1 this year. So this is always what I want as a fan. I didn't want to see that Chargers. I didn't want no. Let's take out Pittsburgh. That's what I want. I always want that. It's always better when hopefully you get a victory over Pittsburgh.
So you would rather face the Steelers over the Chiefs?
I think a lot of fans would disagree with me, but yeah, the Steelers. Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs are just really good right now. Like it used to be Raven fans with New England, when New England was the best team in the league for I think that's more of that vibe. But there are some people now with the Chiefs because the Chiefs have knocked us out a couple times.
Yeah, and Pat Mahomes has done that to everybody not named Joe Burrow or TB12, but
yeah.
It seemingly the Kansas City Chiefs are the one team everybody hates, and I think Bengal fans probably hate them more for what they did yesterday, but that's here and there. This is the fifth time that the Steelers and Ravens are meeting in the playoffs. You probably remember the previous 2002 division round. I could not believe this. Elvis Grbac was the Raven quarterback that day.
Yeah. Oh God, he is. Elvis Grbac is probably the most hated quarterback in the history of the Ravens. There's no question about it. Trent Dilfer the year before took the Ravens all the way to the Super Bowl and won it, and they didn't resign him. They didn't think he was good enough to resign even after he had won a Super Bowl. And so Brian Billick goes out and signs. He didn't sign Dilfer, and he could have signed Brad Johnson, who was his quarterback in Minnesota as an offensive coordinator, but he opted for Elvis Grbac, and that was a complete train wreck. I mean, none of the Raven players. Jonathan Ogden, this is a quote from him. He said, "This guy had no heart. So Grbac was a hated quarterback for the Ravens.
Yeah, some guys possess talent, and some guys had it. Doug George had the talent. Elvis Grbac had the talent. They didn't have it. Tom Brady had it. Peyton Manning had it. Joe Montana had it. Lamar Jackson's got it.
And Grbac just some guy like you watch the movie like Jamie Foxx in the movie. None of give someone when they look in your eyes, they gotta believe it. They just didn't. Like Grbac just wasn't the guy they thought he was, and that really just I can't think of a more I don't know if he's the most disliked, but surely at the quarterback the most disliked player of all time.
Yeah. This is how much football changed. The Steelers ran the ball like 40-something times, and Cordell Stewart threw like 20-something times. That would probably be reversed, or would be more even.
Even good running teams, yeah, you're right. It's at best you get a 50-50 split or something like that. You can't. Back when the Ravens Steelers rivalry started, you could kind of work around not having a quarterback. So before Joe Flacco played with us for years, they had Anthony Wright, and Stoney Case, and Scott Mitchell, and they were able to still win games and do something. But nowadays, that ain't gonna work. You got to throw the ball way too much. Like you can't just run all the time. That's not gonna work.
Well, I mean, look what happened in the '08 AFC Championship game. Joe Flacco almost got to the Super Bowl as a rookie.
Joe Flacco won games all the time. And despite his stats or whatever he doesn't do, Joe Flacco got into the playoffs and Joe Flacco won playoff games. He doesn't statistically, it wasn't always great. That was always the argument I would make with guy came in the league with at the same time, like Matt Ryan kind of came in the same year. Like Ryan statistically was better, but Flacco would win games. Flacco would actually go ahead and actually win games in the playoffs. First 4 years playoff, Flacco actually did well playing in playoff games rather than Matt Ryan, who, like, except for the 1 year they went to the Super Bowl, really didn't do much in the playoffs.
I mean, Flacco went on the road, beat the top team Titans, beat the Broncos, beat the Patriots, and then he beat the 49ers, which Matt Ryan couldn't do that year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ryan was a really good quarterback, though. I mean, I'm not dissing him, but Flacco actually, certain guys, like we talked about, certain guys have that knack for winning, knack for leading. He just has it. Some guys without tremendous talent, they have a knack to actually get the job done and win games.
But the '08 AFC Championship game might have been the heart of the Steeler-Raven rivalry. There were controversial hits in that game. I remember, I think Ryan Clark literally knocked out Willis McGahee, in my memory.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. He, those were just fights, flags the whole time. You just knew it was coming. There was going to be fights. There was going to something break out, especially like Hines Ward. Like I tell Hurricane all the time, man, it was just a dirty player, man. But there was always fights. Ray Lewis was always yelling at people. Guys were always Harrison. Those were two. That was kind of two of the height of the culture of the two teams as well. Steelers, the run game, the physicality, and all that other stuff that they had at the time. The Ravens, same kind of the height of the physicality or whatever. But even then, they were kind of turning around because now they had quarterbacks in like '08 with Roethlisberger and Flacco, where it wasn't just hits for. They had enough passing game to really be the best teams in the AFC at the time.
Yeah, it ended up being like a 2-point game, and all of a sudden, Troy Polamalu intercepts Flacco and turned into the house.
Yeah.
You probably despise that guy in Baltimore.
Who? Polamalu? I got a lot of respect for Polamalu. There are some Steelers you have respect for. I think Jerome Bettis is definitely one. Tremendous respect for Jerome Bettis. Tremendous respect for Polamalu. I don't have much use for Hines Ward. I don't have much use for Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not a big fan of Kevin Green. I never was, but those guys.
you might have been a fan of Kevin Green when he was a Ram, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Well, then 2 years later, the Ravens and Steelers reacquainted themselves in the playoffs, and unlike a couple recent other games, this game possessed some scoring. Pittsburgh winning 31-24. I mean, what was it that the Steelers always had Baltimore's number in the playoffs for the first 3 games?
I think these two teams are just alike in nip and tuck. I think the difference why the Ravens got beat was Ben Roethlisberger. They had a guy there who would actually finish drives. Mike Tomlin said about his team, like often, the good thing about it, and we're kind of seeing it this year with Kansas City, right? Just to use that for like a more recent example. They play 60 minutes. That makes sense. They, at the end of games, they're very good. No matter what's happened during the course of the game, they're actually in it at the end. So if you don't put the knife in them, put them away, they're actually good at the end. Roethlisberger was fantastic usually in the fourth quarter, like often. You couldn't put them away. They always also too they created a lot of turnovers, a lot. Both teams, like interception, fumble, etc. You'd always see like a play that wasn't just an on-script play. You'd see something really in all their games that like changed the tone in all the games.
Yeah, and it seemed like at any point James Harrison could come around the corner and sack the quarterback. Or for you guys, it'd be Terrell Suggs going in and sacking Big Ben, which almost never happened because Big Ben was so big it took 8 men to sack him.
Yeah, absolutely. He was kind of like what you're seeing with Josh Allen now. Like just kind of one-on-one. You can't bring one guy. You're not going to tackle Josh Allen with one guy. You need 2-3 guys, or he's just going to run over you. Roethlisberger was kind of like that. That's probably why he had to retire after a while, and he was so ineffective late because he took so many hits. But he would just run over you.
I'm not sure Roethlisberger was in the best shape his last few years, but that's either near me. I mean, I don't think he was on the TB12 diet.
Some guys are like I saw like the game, like the Christmas Day game, where they were giving. I don't know if you saw at the end where they were trying to give Derrick Henry and Lamar a slice of like red velvet cake, right? At the end, they wouldn't eat it because that's how good a shape they try and stay in. Some guys aren't that. They just aren't guys that just stay in phenomenal shape. Some guys can get away with cheating or whatever and not being as good. Like Chad Johnson would eat at McDonald's all the time. Like you talk about that a lot. Like Lamar isn't that. Like Derrick Henry isn't that. Roethlisberger isn't that. You know, he's going to eat the cake.
And then finally, Baltimore got revenge a few years later when the Ravens won a wild card game against the Steelers. And frankly, be honest with you, I don't know what it is, but the last few years it seems like like the Ravens seem to always make the playoffs and generally win the game, but the Steelers have been one and done. I mean, I don't know what it is. Like Baltimore's been capable of winning, maybe not winning, making Super Bowls, but always there, always competitive. And for Pittsburgh, nah.
Baltimore is like a serious contender, and we know Pittsburgh isn't. And the reason is they don't have a quarterback. Mike Tomlin can get them there. Mike Tomlin gets them ready in camp. They're well coached. They get off to good starts because their last couple of years have been kind of the same. They've been off to good starts. They're like 5-6, 5-2. I think this year they were 10-3, and then they fall apart down the stretch because they got no quarterback. They can't finish like they used to. So I think that's the reason why they have the Ravens. I mean, they have the best quarterback I think in the league, not named Pat Mahomes. I mean, that's just the long and the short of it. Defensively, we're nowhere near like those teams we're talking about, 08 and all that anymore. But they are, they can score.
And you know what? I mean, the old saying used to be offense won games, defense won championships. Now I think it's offense wins games and championships.
Offense is – I don't think there's a team anymore where you can win like the Ravens used to do it with just a defense. The Ray Lewis era, a lot of times they had no quarterback. They would win just with defense. They get into playoff games with no QB. No pet. That's not going to work anymore. No, all the teams in the playoffs have a solid quarterback. Nobody has a Daniel Jones or that just doesn't work anymore. You have to have offense on the field.
So this year, I mean, Lamar Jackson put together arguably his best statistical season. I mean, it's in all likelihood between Lamar and Josh Allen for the MVP. I mean, Lamar's season this year is 40. How about 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions? I can't believe I'm saying. Am I reading that right? 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Oh yeah, and he ran for 900 yards.
I mean, first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards and have 900 yards rushing in a season. I think he only had like 5. I think the number was 5 interceptions, and I think 3 of those weren't even his fault. Like watching every game, I think really 2 were bad. That was it. Like he was I mean, he's always been a good decision maker. He doesn't always have. I think his throwing has improved, but he's always been. Some guys are good decision makers. Lamar has always been a good decision maker. Now he's got players around him, one, and he's developed as a quarterback too, as well. So I commented this week on the podcast and said, you can get great players can still get better. Michael Jordan got better as well, in the course of his career. Lamar, as a passer, is really developed. And plus, they got more stuff around him.
Well, how much does Derrick Henry help? Because when I saw Baltimore sign Derrick Henry, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? The perfect running back for that offense.
Well, Derrick Henry can run the football. And the thing is, you can't really key on Lamar this year. That's the thing. It's always has Lamar, I think Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers developing. Really has helped a lot. Zay Flowers, this was the first year I saw Ravens games where they were really looking for a go-to receiver. That's new. They always kind of like John Harbaugh would always say, well, that's kind of how the game went. That's how the flow went. Somebody didn't get catches or whatever. It was because of the flow of the game. No, they're looking for Zay Flowers in the game to get him going, to get the offense going. They've never done that. And then you got Derrick Henry. You can't key on him because Derrick Henry's there. And, like, there was a lot of games I watched where they just doing run fronts. Like the best defense in the league. It's like a lot of run stop fronts. That's crazy when you got a guy with 40 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. You're trying to stop the run. Yeah, so it gets better.
Yeah, of course, Zay Flowers is probably the biggest injury concern for the Ravens. Left Saturday's Week 18 against Cleveland with a knee injury. How do you feel about Zay Flowers' chance of playing this weekend?
I don't know it for sure. Listening to the presser today with John Harbaugh, it doesn't sound like he's going to play. He said it's not season-ending, but it's day-to-day. So Harbaugh never tells the truth about these things anyway. So a lot of times he doesn't want teams to know. Yeah, right. Like a lot of these coaches don't tell the truth about these things, but it doesn't sound like, just reading the tea leaves, that we're going to have Zay Flowers on Saturday.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Zay Pro Bowl year, I think Zay became the first Raven receiver to make the Pro Bowl, which is crazy to me, but, Baltimore's been a run-first team.
Well, and I always say that, like, on the messages and things on my pages, and people would always say I'm wrong about that. I said we never had a wide receiver, Pro Bowl wide receiver on the Ravens. We've never had one before this year. We've had like Steve Smith and Anquan, guys who made a Pro Bowl with a different team. And then we've had Jermaine Lewis, Jacoby Jones, who are wide receivers that made it as kick returners, punt returners. But we've never had a Pro Bowl wide receiver on the team. That's never happened until Zay Flowers just the other day.
We've had Pro Bowl tight end, but no Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. You've had Mark Andrews, Todd Heap, et cetera, make Pro Bowl, but you've never had a Pro Bowl wide receiver.
Well, even if Flowers plays, he'll probably be limited. So that means potentially a lot more Rashad Bateman. I think, Bateman caught a touchdown against Cleveland, but frankly, I don't think Cleveland was even trying last week.
No, that wasn't even. I mean, Bailey Zappi is.
I mean, Myles Garrett was trying, but I don't think the Browns really cared about that game.
Myles Garrett was trying, and on offense, Jerry Jeudy was trying. That was about it.
Unfortunately, Bailey Zappi couldn't complete that many balls. Jerry Jeudy was swinging.
Bailey Zappi, all he can do is dink dunk. Like, he's a career backup. Like a Chase Daniel, not even a guy. That's about it. They were trying to,
Chad Henne.
I ain't even giving him Chad Henne. I'm not. That's going a little bit too far there with Chad.
Who was the guy? Which Bill quarterback threw 5 picks in a game against the Chargers?
Peterman. You're thinking about Nathan Peterman. I'll give him Nathan Peterman. I'll give him that one. I'll give him Nathan Peterman. Nathan Peterman stayed in the league for years too. That was crazy. Like, how did that happen? Like he was just awful every time you saw him.
Well, I mean, so many teams need backup quarterbacks. I mean, look at my team. I mean, Trevor. Well, that one Texan linebacker, frankly, killed Trevor in week 15 and 14.
They made a change today, right? The Jags they went ahead and did that. Yeah.
I wish we got rid of Trent Baalke, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. I mean, frankly, I don't know how Trent Baalke has been canned. I mean, with what happened with Harbaugh, Jim Tonsula, and then the coach who shall not be named. And if you even say your name, right now, I might start eating crab cakes.
Well, if you're not gonna say it, I'm not gonna either. I'll leave it alone, there, D.
Okay. But with Baltimore this year, I mean, it's not been all wide receivers. I mean, the tight ends, Mark Andrews. I mean, I don't know what happened with Mark Andrews early in the year, but seemingly Lamar and Andrews got him back on track. And Mark Andrews catching touchdown pass. Caught another one on Saturday. But I say it likely could be the X factor because he's like part wide receiver, part tight end, part fullback.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the guy I keep comparing Isaiah Likely to is the late Frank Wycheck. Used to play with the Maryland, play with Tennessee. You know, he's like an H-back. He's not quite a tight end. He's not quite a running back. You know, he kind of fits that same role. A lot of his passes are like in that backfield area. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He'd be good with Music City Miracles.
Yeah, he'd be good on a team with Steve McNair or Derek Mason and those guys.
Oh wow! You're going to recreate all the former Titans. You
want to talk about a team like Ravens used to hate the Titans? Used to hate it, man. Used to hate Tennessee.
You talk about the 99 Titans. The Jaguars went 15-3 that year. Only one problem. All 3 losses came against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Oh, man. When Eddie George and all those guys were there, probably not as much now because we're no longer in the same division. But when it was, even me, it's still now just a little like I'm not tight. The Titans would always get us too. Like they was really close. It was Steelers and Titans were the 2 teams like that really, really, really made it difficult. Similar teams as well.
I mean, the Ravens beat the Titans as a 1 seed 2008, and the Tennessee returned the favor 5 years ago. Defensively, the Ravens started out slow, but really picked it up this year. New defense coordinator. Surprised. The Ravens since week 11 or 12, top defense in the league. And a lot of it's due to maybe the most versatile defender in the league, Kyle Hamilton. He could be linebacker, safety, nickelback, play corner if need be. I think he could even fly the airplane.
Yeah. He does an awful lot. I think as big as Kyle Hamilton was, because we know how good Kyle Hamilton is. He's been tremendous. The move when they got rid of Marcus Williams and put him out of the starting lineup, and they got rid of Eddie Jackson, who were kind of getting the majority of the spots at free safety. They put Kyle Hamilton there, and they moved to Darius Washington, who was kind of the second string safety, and moved him in. And that changed the whole deal because they were getting torched in the air like all these games. Like even Jameis Winston had like 350 yards passing against them. Every week they were getting 350 yards. They were getting a lot of yards. It was like last in the league. So that changed once you actually got Kyle Hamilton in there, less of a Swiss Army knife, more of a traditional safety. And that really helped the pass game a lot. That really helped. They also, I think, recently benched Trent Simpson next to Roquan Smith using Malik Harrison. So they the 2 biggest problems they had, the 3 biggest guys, they got those guys out of there, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah, and also, defenses adjust, just getting guys. I mean, Baltimore, Roquan Smith, what he's capable of doing, but new defensive coordinator, a bunch of new guys. Guys, I'm trying to think. Who's the pass rusher? I mean, Kyle Van Noy, so underrated.
Love Kyle Van Noy. I love him much better than Jadeveon Clowney. A lot of fans really liked Jadeveon Clowney, but Jadeveon Clowney is a freak athlete. Like, you see him like the fit. If you're doing like a bodybuilding contest, whatever you want, Jadeveon Clowney, great shape, great athleticism. Kyle Van Noy is fundamentally sound. You love Kyle Van Noy. Sets the edge on the rush, plays the rush inside. Only doesn't need to play all the snaps, plays limited snaps, tells the other guys what to do. I know John Harbaugh got to love a guy like Kyle Van Noy, and he's like inexpensive, right? They're not spending a ton of money. They like that too. So Kyle Van Noy and Adafi Owe have really, really stepped up this year and did a lot better. Adafi did better than I thought he would, actually. Did better than I thought he would. His sacks kind of come in spurts. I still think even with getting 10 sacks, he needs to be a little bit more consistent down-to-down basis. But, I mean, I thought the pass rush was much improved, especially after the change.
So heading into this weekend's game against Steelers, both teams won at home. I mean, it seemed for whatever. But one thing that I'm wondering for this game, what kind of game plan do we see from Todd Monk in the offensive corner? Because in big game, it happened the first Steelers game. The Ravens have gone too Lamar dependent.
I think hopefully they've learned their lesson. I really commented on the same thing you just said, Dylan, in the second game, because they kind of figured it out. The problem they're having against Pittsburgh is Lamar, when he plays against team, he's so fast. It's nothing for him to just take the edges, run around the ends and all that. Pittsburgh with TJ, with Watt there and Highsmith, he's having trouble. And then you go inside Hayward, he's having trouble. He can't run away from guys. So what they did was just run more up the middle. Even a lot of his runs down their throat. Ran Derrick Henry more. Ran when he's running between the tackles more, and that was way more effective. So let's hope that he's learned his lesson by doing that in the game, where he's not just doing all that. That's not going to get it against that great Steeler edge rush that they have.
But why is it that Lamar struggled against the Steelers? Is it strictly like Pittsburgh's game plan, TJ Watt? Because, I mean, look at the stats. I mean, Lamar's historically struggled against Steelers this year, completing, 55% of passes, two of the 4 picks. And
I think
passes.
There's two things you can do against Lamar. Pittsburgh kind of does both things. One, you need to stay disciplined with your zones and your rush lanes, okay? Because he'll just go crazy on you because he's just going to run around and go crazy. But if you can maintain your gap discipline against the Ravens and stay in your rush lanes, Pittsburgh does, like a lot of the league now, all they do is play zone. There's almost no man-to-man. They play zone, so they know how to handle the gap discipline and all that. And I think that's why the Ravens have trouble, while Lamar has trouble. And, yeah, you said TJ Watt. He's a beast. Like, they don't have really good tackles all the time. I mean, he just blows up everything. Lamar can't get the edges like he normally does. Most of the time, he's able just to run around, get the edge. He's too fast and all that. That doesn't happen with Pittsburgh. They get up on him way too quick, and they can't. He can't do a lot of that creative passing and all that stuff that he likes to do.
Yeah, and it also helps if either one or both pass rushers can question you and keep you contained. The Steelers contain Lamar, don't let him get outside. Even the 2-point play, Lamar tried to get outside. Nope.
He can't always get outside like he likes to do, and they maintain discipline down the field where that wide open stuff isn't there. That's why, that's the other part of it too. So when he does stay back there, he's not just looking at wide open stuff all the time. They maintain which almost nobody does. Most of the league, they just can't. Yeah, they just try and take him down. They can't take him down.
And then look what happened in week 16. I mean, Yeah, Lamar. Lamar. I think Lamar threw a pick in that game, but then responded and made plays with his arm and legs, and all of a sudden the Ravens got ahead. True, it helped that Russ had a big time turnover. But seemingly, I don't know what it is with Russell Wilson turnovers lately. Maybe Sierra needs a new hit single.
You like Sierra or something, man. You keep bringing up.
No, I don't. Hey, I'm okay with Sierra. I'm not okay with the singer and with the Travis Kelce's significant other, but that's okay.
Taylor Swift. None of them
Don't
can
say
compete
her
with Janet,
name.
man. Come on,
Don't
man.
say her
Who cares
name.
about that? Huh?
Don't say her name. I don't want to have any more hits. So, I mean, frankly, with John Harbaugh, I feel like he's an underappreciative coach. I mean, yeah, you love him to have more than one Super Bowl, of course, based in Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes' career. I mean, one Super Bowl's more than Dan Marino ever won, more than Josh Allen or Jim Kelly. I can't believe Dan Marino only got the one Super Bowl. I mean, that doesn't seem
Yeah,
right.
83. That was it. His teams, he had, not to tangent too far with Marino, but like he had no defense his whole career. Like really not until Jimmy Johnson got there, and then that was almost too late at that point. He wasn't the same player. But yeah, he had great pass game. Really no run game a lot of his years he was there either. I mean, he would light it up in the air, but they didn't have anything else to help him.
And the one year that that Dan Marino made the Super Bowl, he faced, the 84 49ers. Maybe the greatest team in NFL history.
Yeah, the greatest offense. Probably the team that's shaped the NFL, the current NFL, more than what we're seeing now, the 49ers. Like, that's when it started. We can, you look at the 70s and they had those great teams, the Steelers, the Raiders, hit them in the mouth, the 80s, early 80s, you had the Bears, etc. The Niners, you had passing game going for the first time. That was the thing to do. And I think that's what we've seen since.
I mean, so frankly, with John Harbaugh, I mean, I feel like he's underappreciated, but what is different than me compared to other coaches? He's not an offensive minded coach. He's not a defensive minded coach. He'll relate to anyone. I mean, he's a special teams coach. I mean, maybe not this year because for a while Justin Tucker couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat. But like Baltimore's always got something. Whether it be a trick play, whether it be a fake punt, whether it be, Baltimore never seems flustered in situations.
I think, that's a good observation. And it's like, I kind of compared John Harbaugh to Bill Parcells. You mentioned a guy like that. Bill Parcells really wasn't an offensive coach or defensive coach. He understood the 53rd guy on the team. And I make that observation about him. He understands every man with the helmet on, every man go down on that field. He knows exactly what they can and can't do. There's a lot of coaches that don't. Like Sean Payton's a guy, he's an offensive guy. He understands the offense. He understands the game plan. And the defense kind of does what they do. Like John Harbaugh understands everybody. The example I used, like last year during the game with the Rams, where I think the kick returner got hurt during the game, the starter. They put Tylan Wallace in, who's hardly played a backup kick returner. And he knew Tylan was going to run that kickback because he understands exactly what Tylan do. Tylan is capable of. He was sitting there after the game. It was a video of him watching the video with Tylan, got his arm around him. He understands his whole roster. He understands that very, very well, kind of like Bill Parcells did.
And much like Parcells, seemingly Baltimore could turn around. I mean, like I never see the Ravens go 3-13. I mean, a bad year for the Ravens. 9-8, and they're just out of the playoff, or they make a wild card touch.
He's been around a while. They were 8-9 couple years ago. That's the year you were referencing, and they lost Lamar, I think, for like a stretch of games, and I think that was an issue. And then like the only other year Harbaugh had, he was like 5-11 one year, and that was because Joe Flacco missed like half the season in part. That was it.
But being a Raven fan, you know how quarterbacks are judged. They're judged by what happens in January, and Lamar Jackson's playoff history, not good. I mean, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I think 2-4 record, and those wins came against Ryan Tannehill and a rookie CJ Stroud. And there have been some big time Lamar mistakes. I mean, pick 6 against Buffalo, a couple awful picks against bad pick against the Chiefs last year. Well, actually, was it one or multiple picks against the Chiefs?
Yeah.
But is Lamar just one of these great regular season quarterbacks, or can he play in January?
Oh well, we're gonna find out here in a couple days. We're hoping as Raven fans that it's Peyton Manning, or John Elway. They had almost no success for years and years in the playoffs, and then towards the end, they sort of got the hang of it. I don't think there's anybody that's going to say that Lamar's been good in the playoffs. I mean, there's just no way to slice that. I thought he was better last year. I don't think they lost, and I don't think it was because of him. But yeah, he hasn't been good in January. And I think that's kind of the frustration that the Ravens fans have with John Harbaugh and Lamar. And that's probably the biggest thing I couldn't put something up on the thing all year. Well, this ain't January. You got to get to January first. You got to get in. So, yeah, not good in the play. I will say this. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Harbaugh this whole playoff. I don't know. Certainly if he loses this week, he's going to be under a lot of heat. I don't think they're going to lose. But certainly if he loses this week. But if they stink it up again in the offense, I don't know how. There's a lot of fans, media, that's not going to be good for him in terms of that. There's a lot of fans and media that are kind of like what you're seeing in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. They're, so many times you're going to get knocked out and guys are getting frustrated. So there's some frustration in the fan base.
I mean, I understand why Steelers fans are frustrated, but Pittsburgh's problem is simple. The Steelers have way too much money on defense. Guess what happens when you have expensive defense? They get hurt. And we've seen the last few weeks that if George Pickens is not reeling in 80-yard bombs, guess what? Pittsburgh's offense goes nowhere. I mean, George Pickens cannot catch a cold in Alaska barefoot on Saturday morning. I'm honest. Every time I saw George Pickens, I'm like, the Steeler fans from the nights in the NFL, they will boo it. They will piss.
Oh yeah. Oh, they don't play. Their offense is pedestrian. The Steelers' offense is pedestrian. They don't really have the Ravens had 9 Pro Bowlers. You had 3 guys on offense. They just don't have that in Pittsburgh. They just don't have that in Pittsburgh. They don't have guys. Pickens is probably their best guy, and he's mercurial. He doesn't get it early. He doesn't get his bomb. He doesn't get whatever.
I mean, where would George Pickens be in terms of the wide, if you, not fantasy wise, but just regular wide receiver wise? I mean, where would he be? Top 25, maybe? Top 30?
I think top 30 is pretty safe to say. I take him, I don't know if there's 30 more. He's a definite number 1 receiver, but I wouldn't put him in the top 10 or anything like that. That's probably right. He's not in the category of Jefferson, Chase, CeeDee Lamb, those guys. That's a little bit too much. But yeah, but a notch below.
I'll tell you this. I wouldn't have George Pickens on my team because he'd drive me crazy. I understand some wide receivers could be divas. I don't want diva wide receivers. I'd rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I might not get targets, but you know what? I'll block, I'll do this. If that means I'm a decoy and pooping the cool catches 20 passes, so what? Just win the darn game.
And that's why Deontay Johnson got sent home by John Harbaugh and them. That he refused to go in a game, and it just like, you got to get out of here. The Ravens, Harbaugh does not go for that. All that diva stuff, and I think that's his problem. That's why he cut. Believe it's rumored. I don't know. That's why he cut Deshaun Jackson a few years ago. That ain't gonna get it. Tomlin doesn't have a choice. He's got nobody else. Like, he seems to have a bunch of these guys, though. He had AB, who was, a bit of a space cadet. He had Chase Claypool, who was, he seems to get a lot of these guys for whatever reason at the receiver position that, act a certain way.
Steelers and Packers draft wide receivers. Unfortunately, all Green Bay's wide receivers perform, and all Pittsburgh's wide receivers end up going elsewhere. How about Santonio Holmes?
Yeah. We had Mike Wallace, too, for a while on the Ravens. Yeah, Mike Wallace was kind of the same type of guy, good guy, talented, inconsistent, bit mercurial.
I don't know if Wallace was a diva, though. I don't think he was a diva, though.
I wouldn't call Wallace a diva, but yeah, they kind of have a history of they do a good job drafting receivers, though. I'll give them that. They're actually absolutely drafting good group of receivers.
So for this game, obviously both teams are familiar with each other. The coaches have faced each other a couple dozen times. No secrets here. Anything worries you about this game? Because were you hoping you got to let's play the Chargers, so let's play some other team?
You're talking to the wrong guy in the sense I'm always hoping to beat the Steelers. So yes, I was. I take the opposite argument because I think that's what you want. So the Chargers, I think you kind of not in our division, but that's his brother. And that's a similar. There's so many similarities between the Chargers and the Ravens. The Chargers are Baltimore West. They have a lot of the same type of. They actually have the same philosophy. They have the same philosophy. They have the same type of mentality. They know each other well. So I don't know if we would have did better with the Chargers as well. They beat Denver during the regular season, but I didn't think it beat Denver.
I mean, I'll say this about the Chargers. They've got a really good coach. They've got a really good quarterback. Maybe lacking in weapons, but coach, quarterback, and more importantly, they've got an identity. We know what Baltimore's identity is. We have no idea what Pittsburgh's identity is. I mean, do they want to run the ball, throw the ball? I mean, is Russell Wilson going to hold on to the ball? Or is Pittsburgh just going to try and play good defense?
They don't have the horses. I think they like to be a team that would run the football. Not Najee Harris isn't. The more I see him, the more I'm convinced of that. Like, he's just I make the comment, like, if this was the 1980s, he'd be a great running back. Like, he can run the ball between the tackles, give you 4 yards on a cloud of dust, run over people. He doesn't really do the other things well. He doesn't really pass block particularly well. He doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield particularly well. They kind of take him out, use Jalen Warren. So that's kind of the problem. So I think they like to do that, but that's not good enough. Their offensive line has gotten better, but they're still very young. They've been playing two rookies a lot of the year on the offensive line, and one guy, Broderick Jones, is really in his second year.
Yeah, in a way, I don't know what it is with Tomlin's teams. Pittsburgh's offensive line is never great. Like, even a bad year for Kansas City, a great offensive line. Sean Payton, the Denver Broncos have a great offensive line. Green Bay's offensive line is always great. Philadelphia's offensive line, always great. Tomlin's teams never have great offensive lines. I mean, maybe Tomlin's old school, maybe Tomlin being the old defensive guy has never really cared about O-line.
And one guy you mentioned, Jim Harbaugh, his lines were always great. They're great in the NFL, and they were great at Michigan. Like, that was the big thing. Like,
I wonder why the Chargers' offensive line's much better this year. Oh wait, they drafted Joe
Alt early.
Joe Alt, a tackle from Notre Dame, one of my favorite players in the draft.
Yeah, you're a Notre Dame. I forgot you're a Notre Dame guy there. Yeah.
No. No, I actually went to FGCU. We don't even have football in my school. I promise you, we don't have football. We don't have football. We're not close to having football.
You haven't been following. You haven't been a Maryland fan where we've never won more than 8-9 games.
Hey,
So there you.
Maryland was in an Orange Bowl 20-something years ago.
I think they were 10-1 like once. I think Frisian is what you're talking about. I think, but yeah, that's
2001.
That's a long time ago, brother. That was 20. I had no gray hair the last time Maryland went to a bowl game.
Yeah,
that tells you.
Yeah, that's when Maryland was in the ACC, not the Big 12, not the Big 10.
Yeah, I've been married almost 20 years. We hadn't even met yet the last time Maryland went to a bowl game.
Wow.
So that tells you how long ago it was. We talk about 01, something happened.
So, player-wise, is Lamar Jackson the one player who's got the most at stake because he's already got 2 MVPs, may very well win a third, but does Lamar have the most pressure of anybody to win this year?
You mean just Ravens or any team in the league?
Any player on any team in the playoffs.
I think it's pretty heavy on Allen too. I think Josh Allen is. They're kind of the Ravens and the Bills are kind of in the same boat. Like they're kind of getting knocked out. And here's what we know: both of them won't be there for the championship round.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, both of them won't be there, so they're gonna. Both fan bases are kind of. I think Allen. I think is as much too. I think like with fans, I think Lamar is good. I think even if he loses, I think Harbaugh is the one that's going to get all the heat for the loss. I think more than Lamar is going to.
I'm surprised you would say that because I would think the Raven fans would actually eat Lamar. Like, if the Ravens lost this weekend to the arch rival, Lamar is going to feel so much, you know what? I mean, Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl. I mean, I don't think John Harbaugh would feel it, but Lamar would. I mean, if he wins a third MVP, but the Ravens, particularly with Lamar's struggles in January, oh boy.
I think Lamar is definitely more popular of the two with the fan. I rarely get negative, bad Lamar anything. Like, not a lot of it. Like, they don't like Lamar. Harbaugh all the time. So I think Harbaugh is going to – that Super – and like you said, like stuff that happened a long time ago, Super Bowl was 2013. I mean, it's Harbaugh won. It's been a long time since he's won, even though he has a Super Bowl. Kind of same with Tomlin. I mean, Tomlin, I don't even know the year. I think it was 2010 or 29, since the last time. That's a long time. There's a whole, think about it. There's a whole generation of people that haven't seen the Ravens win the Super Bowl or haven't seen the Steelers win the Super Bowl at this point, as great as they've been.
And frankly, Steelers fans are probably a little annoyed and embarrassed. Like, I know Pittsburgh's cool with Tomlin, personality. We know Tom's going to the Hall of Fame. But I think there's got to be a little bit of embarrassment with Pittsburgh that they can't win the big one. I mean, Pittsburgh went 0-4 and didn't score 20 points in his last 4 games. Oh, by the way, everybody talks about Kansas City going through that 3-game and 11-day stretch. Baltimore did the same thing and won all 3 games by 17 or more points.
I didn't like it either. I think I didn't like it either. I think like the Ravens, I will give them a little bit of oxygen there. The Ravens did have a bye in like week 14. So they had a late bye. So they had that tough stretch, but they had played the week before, but they had a week off. So they had a little bit of a stretch. I can only imagine a team like who had a week 4, week 8 bye, and then you had a tough stretch. Week 5, week 6 bye, and then you had a long, tough stretch like that. So I can kind of understand that.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but I'm watching these games. Christmas Day felt weird, especially a Wednesday game. If it were, Monday was cool last year because nothing changes if it's Monday Night Football. We played Monday Night Football for 1,000 years. But Wednesday, oh boy, no way, no bueno.
There's two things. One, I talk about the business side of it first. The NBA has really been making money on the Christmas Day forever. When my dad was still alive, that was the day we always watched the NBA together, and the NFL's trying to get some of that. They're trying to get that. They're trying to get that money. They had Beyonce and all that other stuff.
I think the NFL's trying to have its cake and not let anybody else get any.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of not doing it with college football yet because that wouldn't help them, because they want college football to stay viable. But if they put games on Saturday, that would do that. The other part of that I want to say too is like they are, it's business. That's just what it is. I mean, they're trying to make money on that. I started the podcast on Wednesdays simply because I thought we would never get a football game on Wednesday. That's the one day where there's no football, and I could kind of put a pod together, put a stream together, and like, hey, we get a Wednesday game. So I wasn't expecting that either. They're going to do it every year. Whatever the day is, they're going to have a Christmas Day every year. I'm sure of it. Next year's Pete Thursday for sure. You're going to have
a game. Can the Ravens make a Super Bowl run? I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard. You play the Steelers this Saturday night, and if you win, you, in all likelihood, get Josh Allen in Orchard Park again. And if you win that game, you might have a re-engagement with some guy named Patrick Mahomes.
The thing that worries me about both games, I think Josh Allen is hitting his stride. I think Josh Allen is terrific. I don't think Buffalo's is good this year. They got Amari Cooper to help him out at receiver. Their defense has kind of been good at times and not good at other times. It's kind of been inconsistent. Cook has kind of been not as good. So it's a tough road game, but I think they might be a better team than Buffalo. The concern I have with KC is Marv Albert talked about the Knicks beating Michael Jordan a long time ago, and he gave a couple of reasons. The third reason was maybe it's just that hard to beat Michael Jordan. I think that's the biggest thing we can't get around. How is it that hard to beat Mahomes and Kelsey and the Swifties and Arrowhead and all that? Is it just that hard to do? They were 15-1 despite all their problems. We're talking about people talking about they have. They were 15-1. Oh, 15-2 rather. They won. They lost the last game where they really didn't.
I'm not even going to count. I'm not even going to count yesterday's game.
You can't even really count that. They didn't even play.
But it's like playing Tom Brady or playing Joe Montana. Very few people beat them. I mean, your team beat them, but a couple times. I actually remember that Joe Flacco wildcard game where you absolutely mincemeat the Patriots.
He couldn't. Brady couldn't. As smart as Brady was, he had the problem with the Ravens that Peyton Manning had with the Patriots. He couldn't figure it out. Manning for years struggled with New England. All those looks, and Belichick would always get him because he couldn't really. It took him he was about 10 years in the league before he beat New England, and it was the same with Brady. The Ravens, he just couldn't figure it out.
So, can the Ravens make New Orleans? I mean, your team won the Super Bowl the last time it was in the Big Easy. Maybe you get Beyonce for a halftime show this year.
I think if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, they get out of the AFC. Absolutely. I think they'll beat any of those teams in the NFC. The only team in the NFC that's really concerning is Philadelphia. And I don't even know if they're going to have Jalen Hurts.
Huh? And you know what they did because they beat you week 13.
Yeah. They have a really good team there. But I still think they can beat Philly. I don't think Philly's unbeatable by any stretch.
I mean, it'd be something. I mean, you imagine we get a divisional round where it's Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Wow. Might be throw 4 of the 5 best quarterbacks in football, perhaps. And
it really does remind me of the NFC in years with Aikman, Young, Favre, every year. That's what we're in the AFC right now. Every year. We're working on like 5 years now. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar.
maybe that's why the NFC won so many Super Bowls in the 80s and 90s. They had all the good quarterbacks.
Yeah, they had,
maybe they had the teams. I mean, John Elway and Dan Marino, of course, in the AFC. But like Super Bowl 20, you think Tony Easton's being the 85 Bears? No. You think John Elway and the Broncos are being the 89 49ers? No.
I think we're just in that era with all these great QBs in the AFC, and just seeing I think a lot of the good teams are in the NFC. But who's the best quarterback in the NFC? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got Hurts. Hurts is pretty good. Darnold looked really good. Goff is good. Stafford.
I actually have a playoff quarterback rankings, and Matthew Stafford's on top of my NFC quarterback rankings.
I got no problem with that.
And yet the Rams haven't scored 20 points in the last 3 games Stafford played.
The Rams are really good. The Rams play with a lot of discipline. I'm noticing that about them. They don't get many flags at all. They always on the bottom of the league and getting flagged. Very Patriot-like with them. That's why they can win with no talent. With not as much talent.
I don't know if the Rams quite have the wide receivers or DBs. I mean, Puka's great. Cooper Kupp's not what he was 3 years ago, and defensively, the Rams are young.
Jared Verse and Kobe Turner are really good, but yeah, they got a lot of young guys.
Fitz is really good. Those 2 Florida State pass rushers are amazing. Okay, Charles. So, where can people see your podcast stream?
Yes, so you can see the podcast here on Drive to the Top Productions as well. I usually debut it on my channel, RavoriSports Podcast. So you usually put that in on YouTube, put that in on the Twitch channel. So we debut it usually Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Sometimes it's a little bit later than that. And this week we're going to be talking about obviously the playoff game, the Browns game we had last week. NFL, the playoffs this week, go over all the wild card games. Orioles also to baseball content, the tiers. Who are the best teams in all the leagues? So we're going to tier all the teams 1 to 30 in the MLB as well, and talk a little Maryland basketball.
I bet you're a little unhappy with the Orioles offseason, seeing Corbin Burns go to Phoenix, right?
I'm actually not shocked by that. I don't know why fans are shocked by that. I didn't think we were going to sign him. But, I got killed a lot of times bringing that up. Well, he's going to – I never did think he was. They kind of did what I expected. But, yeah, a lot of fans aren't happy with it because you're losing a great pitcher, obviously, Corbin Burns.
I mean, 1-year rental. I mean, it seems like he went home because more teams offered him more money. I mean, I'm surprised nobody wants to sign in Toronto. Maybe it's the Canadian tax dollars.
It's the Canadian tax is a problem.
Ross Atkins being the Blue Jay GM, but that's another sport.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother subject.
Okay, Charles, thanks for hopping on. Hopefully the Ravens make things interesting, and bring your parka. It might be snowing, might be cold, and definitely leave a crab cake from Kurt
The crab cakes are a good idea for the game, but I'll be inside, brother. At my age, I'm not sitting out in no cold stadium for nobody. So I'll be watching on Amazon Prime like a lot of America will.